It was the summer of 1969. Woodstock had just happened. The Beatles were breaking up. The world was shifting beneath its own feet. But somewhere between the chaos and the chords, a quiet storm was brewing, one that barely made the front pages, but would leave behind whispers that echoed for decades. A supergroup was forming. Not Cream. Something else. Something even shorter-lived, more fragile, more human. A band that blinked into existence like a dying star. Brilliant, burning, and gone before the world even realized what it had. This is the story of blind faith. It starts with a man who had already changed the course of rock. History: Eric Clapton. Fresh off the seismic collapse of Cream, Clapton was drained. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. Cream had been a battlefield of egos, volume wars, and endless touring. Clapton, the so-called guitar god, found himself craving something ... quieter, more soulful, more meaningful. He wasn't looking to climb higher. He was looking to feel something real again. Then came Steve Winwood. Winwood was younger, but no less seasoned. The prodigy from Traffic. He had a voice that felt like it came from another lifetime, raw, gospel-tinged, soaked in emotion. When Clapton and Winwood first jammed together in a small cottage in Surrey, England, something unspoken clicked. It wasn't just about the notes. It was the spaces between them, the silence, the restraint. For Clapton, it was the first time in years he felt like he was breathing again. But nothing stays small for long in the world of rock and roll. Word got out, and soon, Ginger Baker, the thundering, unpredictable force behind Cream, showed up uninvited. Clapton was hesitant. He didn't want another Cream. He wanted something delicate. But Winwood, ever the peacemaker, welcomed Baker in. The chemistry was undeniable. And just like that, the trio became for when bassist Ric Grech from Family joined the fold. The supergroup was born. They named it Blind Faith. The name said it all. None of them really knew what they were doing. There was no clear direction, no big plan. Just raw talent, shared wounds, and a blind hope that this strange alchemy might lead somewhere beautiful. Their first rehearsals were chaotic, often more like therapy sessions than band practice. But when they played, magic, real, undeniable. Magic. And then came the debut. Hyde Park. June 1969. Over 100,000 people gathered, buzzing with anticipation. Blind Faith was being billed as the next big thing. The second coming of rock royalty. But the band wasn't ready. They barely had enough songs. They hadn't found their footing. Clapton, in particular, felt exposed. The pressure, the spectacle, it was everything he'd tried to escape. He looked out at the sea of faces and felt the weight of expectations crashing down. The performance? It was ... fine. Not brilliant, not a disaster, but enough to reveal the cracks beneath the surface. Still, the machine rolled on. A tour was booked. The album was rushed. And then came the controversy. The album cover, a topless teenage girl holding a silver spaceship. Provocative, confusing, and widely condemned. No one in the band had signed off on it. The backlash was immediate. It overshadowed the music entirely. Instead of talking about the soulful vocals or Clapton's restrained guitar work, people were fixated on the image. The band, already fragile, began to splinter under the pressure. And yet, the music. Oh, the music, just 6 tracks. That's all Blind Faith gave the world. But in those 6 songs lies a kind of aching beauty you rarely find in rock. Can't Find My Way Home is a spiritual lament, sung with Winwood's trembling honesty. Presence. Of the Lord is Clapton, stripped bare, searching for salvation through his guitar. The whole album feels like a sigh of deep, cathartic release from 4 men who didn't know what came next. But it couldn't last. The tour was grueling. Fans screamed for Cream songs. Clapton refused. The tension simmered. Ric Grech had visa issues. Baker clashed with everyone. Winwood tried to hold it all together, but the center was giving way. Clapton began sneaking off to hang with Delaney and Bonnie, a more down-to-earth American soul rock outfit. He felt more at home there, more invisible. By the end of 1969, Blind Faith was no more. One album, one tour. One flickering moment in rock history, and then, silence. The world moved on. New bands rose. Clapton went solo. Winwood revived Traffic. Baker and Grech drifted into other projects. Blind Faith became a footnote. A forgotten SUPERGROUP, but maybe that's the point. Blind Faith wasn't meant to last. It wasn't a monument. It was a moment. A beautiful, bruised, imperfect attempt at healing. For artists, each carrying scars from fame, from failure, from expectations they never asked for, trying to build something pure in a world that demanded spectacle. They were trying to reconnect with the innocence of music itself, stripped of commercial ambition and media glare. And for a brief time, they did. Behind the scenes, those months were filled with intimate moments. Clapton writing in the early morning hours, chasing a melody that seemed to run just out of reach. Winwood humming softly in the corner, always tinkering, always searching for the right note. Baker pacing the floor like a restless spirit, brilliant but unpredictable. Grech, the quiet one, holding it down with a gentle strength that few truly noticed. They were more than musicians. They were wounded souls, sharing the same fragile room, trying to understand one another through sound. In that brief convergence, there was heartbreak, sure. There was confusion and frustration and unspoken resentment. But there was also laughter, and connection, and music that shimmered like smoke. There's a kind of poetry in bands like Blind Faith, the kind that doesn't come from perfection, but from the effort to find light in the dark, from reaching for harmony in the middle of dissonance. Their music wasn't polished. It was human, honest, fleeting, and that's what makes it unforgettable for those who were really listening. Long after the amps were unplugged and the final chord rang out into the summer night, the impact of Blind Faith lingered. Like a dream you can't fully remember, but can't shake either. That one lyric, that aching guitar line, that feeling of four artists who didn't need to be there, but chose to be for themselves and maybe for each other. They weren't chasing fame. They'd already tasted it. They were chasing meaning. Sometimes the most powerful stories aren't the ones that go on forever. They're the ones that arrive, burn brightly, and vanish, leaving only the memory of something that felt real. Blind Faith didn't need 10 albums or sold-out arenas to matter. It mattered because it tried to be honest. It mattered because it tried to care. They weren't perfect. They weren't polished. But in a world flooded with noise, Blind Faith offered a moment of silence, a pause, a breath, a rare glimpse of sincerity in an age that was quickly becoming addicted to flash. In those brief electric months, they carved out a space that didn't need longevity to feel legendary. You didn't need to be there to feel it too, can hear it. In every faltering note, every unguarded lyric, every soulful riff that seemed to whisper, we're trying, we're hurting, we're here. And in an industry that often rewards masks and performance, Blind Faith was unmasked, raw, vulnerable, brave in its own quiet way. Theirs was a story of impermanence, of reaching for connection when everything around them felt fleeting. They taught us that not all legends are forged in stadium lights or measured in platinum records. Some are born in the quiet moments, the almosts, the what-ifs. Blind Faith was that kind of legend.